G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make the Granny Star Garland. There will be a free written pattern available on my website. I will put the links in the description box. This pattern is based off my not so square granny, so if you made that before you will recognise the start of this pattern. In today's lesson we will be using Red Heart yarn. I have used the Super Saver in the hot red and white, but I think this would look fabulous in something with a bit of glitter, and I would recommend the Red Heart shimmer. I have used worsted weight in the lesson, but you can also use 8-ply, double knit or sports weight. For the people in the UK and Australia, worsted weight is approximately our 10-ply. So let's get started on the lesson.
For our supplies, we will need a pair of scissors. These scissors are available on my website, so I will put a link below so you can check them out. A yarn needle for sewing in our ends. A crochet hook to go with your yarn. I'm using a 5mm or a H or a 8 hook. And I'm using worsted weight yarn today. You can use any weight yarn that you like. Using the worsted weight yarn or a 10-ply, it is 6 inches from this point to that point. So that will give you an idea on how big they are. If you're using thinner weight yarn, sports weight, 8-ply or double knit, it will come out smaller. We will also need some rustless pins. These pins have to be rustless, otherwise they are going to leave a really yucky mark, a rust mark on your beautiful snowflakes. You are going to need as many pins as you do have points on your stars. So our stars have 6 points. So depending on how many stars you need, you're going to have to times that by the amount of stars. Grabbing your yarn and hook, what we want to do, we can start with a magic ring or a slip knot. And this written pattern will be available on my website. The links will be below under the description box. We can make a magic ring, or we can chain 5 and slip stitch into the 5th chain. That's what I'm going to do. But you can use a magic ring. If you leave a tail that's reasonably long, using the chain 5 and join is actually almost the same as using a magic ring. As long as we crochet over our tail. So what we need to do is chain 3. And we want to work 2 double crochets into the center. So back into the center. Chain 1 and work 3 double crochets into the center. Chain 1, three double crochets into the center, chain 1, and we're going to keep going until we have 6 lots of 3 double crochets and chain 1s. After we have 6 lots of 3 double crochets and chain 1s, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. I like to grab the front loop and the back loop and then work a slip stitch. We want to slip stitch over until we get to the chain 1 space. So going into the chain 1 space. I want to work 3 chains. and 2 double crochets into the same chain 1 space. Chain 2, and I just like to shift that over, 3 double crochets into the same space. Into the next chain 1 space. So we're skipping these 3 into the chain 1 space. There is no chain 1 in between this part, so going into that one, work 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. I'm just going to do that again, that was a bit loose. Into the next chain 1 space, and in every chain 1 space around we're doing exactly the same, 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. Repeat this all the way around. And I'll catch up to you when we get to here. So when we get to the end of the round, what we're going to do is slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And at the moment our star looks nothing like a star. Agreed? Agreed. So this is where the magic happens on the next round. So we want to slip stitch across until we're up to the chain 2 space. So just working into the top of the double crochets. And this is where the magic happens. So for round 3, what we want to do, we've slip stitched across to the chain 2 space, chain 3, yarning over, going into that same chain 2 space, work 2 double crochets. We're going to work 3 chain for this round, so 1, 2, 3. Into that same space we're going to work 3 double crochets. Into the next space, so this is a space here, that is your chain 2 space because there's chain 2 in the corner here. But into this space we're going to work a single crochet. So just put your crochet hook into that hole and then work a single crochet. Into the next chain 2 space we're going to work 3 double crochets. Chain 3. I like to just push that across and then work 3 double crochets back in that same chain 2 space. Just grabbing some more yarn. Into the next space we're going to work a single crochet. Into the next chain 2 space we're going to work 3 double crochets. See how that went really loose there? Try and get that so it's not loose. So yarning over and try and sort of, I've got all this pushed up together. That looks a lot better. That's still a little bit loose, but it won't be too bad. And if you're finding that this isn't laying flat and it's trying to pull it over, put in an extra chain up on the corner there, like put 4 instead of the 3. Because when we've single crocheted down, it's pulling it down. So it may even pull it so it's like that instead of laying flat. This will actually lay flat. But if it's pulling like that, just put an extra chain up on in the top there. So chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the same space. So continue this around. Remember to put in your single crochet into your space. And when you get around, it'll look like a star. And I'll meet back up with you over here. When we get to the ends, we're going to slip stitch to join. And you can continue the next round in the same colour if you wish, but I'm going to change to the red to make it look pretty. Oh, and how good would this look? How good would this look with shimmer yarn? Oh, pretty. I do actually have some of the red shimmer, but I don't have any white. So grabbing your new colour, I think the white would look so gorgeous if it had glitter. And I'm going to join my yarn nowhere near that one. So I'm going to spin it around somewhere. And you can join your yarn in any of the tips or the chain 3 spaces around. It doesn't matter where you join. So joining in your yarn. I want to make sure it's just joined over this side of the chain 3. What we want to do is work 2 single crochet into the center. So going into the center. 1 and 2. We're going to chain 2. If you wanted to just make one star and hang this up on a Christmas tree, I would recommend putting more chains in there, and that will create the loop at the top to hang it onto the tree. But this one's going to be part of a garland, so it won't need the big loop. What we're going to do is work 2 single crochets back into that same chain 3 space. Into each double crochet across, we're going to work, I'm going to work over my tail, so flip that out of the way. So into each double crochet, we're going to work a single crochet. Into the single crochet down here that we worked into that space, we're going to work a slip stitch. So going into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop that's on the hook. Into each of the next 3 stitches, we're going to work single crochet, into the chain 3 space, we're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2 and 2 single crochets. We're going to repeat this all the way around. So into the next 3 double crochets, work 1 single crochet, into the one here, the single crochet, so it's the bottom of the, got the 2 points here, and this is the V section, the valley. So that's a slip stitch, and into the next 3 stitches we're going to work single crochet. Continue around until we get back to the beginning. When we get to the end, we're going to slip stitch to the first stitch, and that will finish off that round. So cut your yarn, and where is my needle? We're going to need to sew in our ends. Now if you work the chain 5 and join method, what you need to do is pull that, and because you've worked over your tail, it actually pulls it all in tight and basically gives the same effect as a magic ring. So what we need to do is sew in our ends. And then do the same for your red one. And for my garland, I've made, I think it's 5 stars. But of course you can make it as many as you like. So I'm going to sew in this end and I will be back. So what I've got an old towel. I've just folded it a few times. I've put my stars out. Whoa. And I've got, this is just warm water in a spray bottle. And we're going to pin them down. I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. I have some pins and they are rustless. They have to be rustless because we're spraying them with water. If you have normal pins, they will rust and leave this disgusting yellow stain on it, and it doesn't come out. Trust me, I've done it before. A long time ago I made a what was it? It was a thread stuff. It was actually a snowflake like this, and I pinned it, and yeah, it rusted and looked gross. So what we're going to do, in the chain 2 corner, we're going to place the pin in. Going up to the opposite corner into the chain 2 space, we're going to stretch it out a little, as much as we can, and pin it in. Now I've pinned it so the pin is facing towards me, like I've pinned it like that instead of straight down. Because you want to try and stretch it out so you get the point on the snowflake. Or star, whatever you want to call it. Be careful not to pin yourself, because it hurts. So stretching it out as much as we can. And I'm sure there are some professional blocking mats or something, which I do not own. So this is the next best thing for me. So stretching it out a little and poking that down in there. Oh, you can use polystyrene foam sheets. They work really well too. If you don't have access to that, an old towel is the easiest option that I can think of to pin it to. So you're going to pin them all down. Let me just take you off the tripod and I'll show you what we got. So that makes the little pointy bit more pointy. So you can see the little pins. Can you see them? They're only tiny. But I just realised what I need to get at my local craft store next time I go, some polystyrene sheets. And they're really, really cheap, so you could probably use a big piece of thick cardboard, like what a cardboard box is made of. That would also work, I would say. Then I would cover it in some sort of plastic food. You know, we call it Glad wrap or cling wrap. The stuff that you wrap up your sandwiches in, that clear plastic stuff that drives you nuts when it gets stuck together. You could use that over the cardboard so that it doesn't get soggy. So once we have it pinned, I'm just going to work one and then we can show you what to do. Now hopefully this thing is on spray. Yep. So we've pinned this one, so I'm going to just spray it lightly. I don't know if you can see this. With warm water. So I have mine all pinned to my towel. I did actually go and spray them again. So I said lightly spray them. These are quite, I'd almost say wet. They wouldn't wring out, but there's quite a lot of water on those. So there was a frog croaking. Yeah, so when they dry, that is the shape that they're going to take. So make sure they're flat. I've pushed all these flat. I noticed that one of my, around in sort of the centre there, wasn't flat. So yeah, make sure that's flat. Pin it all down and basically wait for it to dry. So if you do use starch or you do use some sort of stiffening agent of some description, please let me know what you used and how that method turned out for you. I would love to hear how it went, and also other people can get ideas on what to use as well. So I will meet up with you when they are dry. My stars have completely dried. It's been at least a day since I sprayed them with the water, and just by putting those pins in, the points are so much better. so much pointier. They were quite rounded before, so that looks great. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, and depending on the distance that you want your stars to be apart will depend on how many chains you're going to make. So grab your yarn, I'm just going to pop that aside. Grab your yarn that you want to use for this is for the hanging section, so the string that goes across the top. And we're just going to make a chain. If you want to make a loop at the end, I'm thinking maybe 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10. And then join. You could do more if you like. I'm just going to do 10. Then just slip stitch it to join. And then that's the loop. So when you want to hang it up, you've got a little loop on the end. Now I did practice a little bit just before, just to see how many chains I needed, and 10 was way too close, they were all overlapping. 20 wasn't far enough for me, so I'm going to do 30 chains. So, but of course, if you, depending on how far apart you want yours, you can do more or less. So I'm going to do 30 chains off camera and then I'll come back. So I've got my 30 chains, and grab your star, and in any of the chain 2 spaces, put your crochet hook into the chain 2 space. And then slip stitch to attach it to the chain. I'm going to chain another 30, so I'm going to do that off camera. So this is what I've got so far. I've got my loop here, my chain 30, joined chain 30, grabbing your next star and doing the same thing, going into the chain 2 space and working a slip stitch. We're going to repeat this all the way across till we have all of our stars joined up. Once we have all of our stars connected, I've made my 30 chain, and now I'm going to chain 10. And if you have a stitch marker handy, here's the $1 million question, do I have one? Yes, I do. You don't have to use a stitch marker, you can always count back. Mark the stitch that's on your crochet hook and then chain 10. This is for the loop that we did the other side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And slip stitch back into that marked stitch. Take that out. So after we've got our chain 10, we can snip that off, pull that through, and then grab your yarn needle, and we're going to just sew this into our chain. You probably could add a row of single crochet back across that chain if you wanted to. A different option. That would look pretty cool too. So just stitch your end in. And then do the same for the beginning, because we would have had a tail at the beginning as well. And any ends that you've got hanging out, make sure they're fixed up.
So I hope you enjoyed that video. Thanks for watching. I would also like to say a big Aussie shout out to my friend Curtis and Jamie and their beautiful children. They wanted me to say a big shout out, so hopefully they're watching the video. I hope you enjoyed that project. Please share creations on our Facebook page. We love to see the colours that everybody comes up with. The free pattern will also be on my website. I will put all the links that are needed in the description box. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet.